Hello, welcome to What the Flick. Christy, Alonzo, and Matt. Since there are no big movies opening this week, we're going to play Heads Up again. Right?
No, there is a big movie.
Oh, yeah, there's a big movie. There's the big movie.
The big movie.
What is it? Tell us about it.
Avengers Age of Ultron. This is the second Avengers film, the latest movie set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We find the Avengers continuing to fight evil. Tony Stark at one point decides, well, maybe this would be easier if I had a machine that took care of the dangerous things in the world, and this machine comes alive and promptly decides on some very dangerous ideas to make permanent peace. Let's watch a clip.
I tried to create a suit of armor around the world, but I created something terrible.
Artificial intelligence.
It's called the Ultron program.
I'm sick of watching people pay for our mistakes.
Isn't why we fight so we can end the fight and go home?
Well, you amazingly failed.
We can tear them apart. From the inside.
That's the best you can do! You gotta ask.
So I walked out of this movie. I texted Alonzo. I'm like, more like a meh-gers. Am I right? Because I think this is a whole lot of meh. I mean, it's just too much. There are too many people and there are too many giant set pieces. And I know that you allegedly want all of that in your big summer blockbuster. This works best when it is Joss Whedon allowing his Joss Whedonishness to surface through the dialogue, through the interactions, in the quiet moments, at the party they throw. And then it's just like big cartoony nonsense in between.
I love the first Avengers. I have on record, I love the first Avengers. And I didn't hate this one. I mean, it's fun. I think that most people will get out of this movie what they are hoping to get out of it to some extent. I didn't think it was as fun as the first one, and I think the reason it's not as fun is that there is now this burden of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and having to like make sure that we check off the list of all these characters that have popped up in all the movies and letting you know who's going to be in the next ones. And so this one, I felt, becomes this connective tissue that the first one didn't have as much of a burden to be.
I thought this movie was fine. I wanted to like a lot more. This is a decent movie. It's not great. Now, I'm going to warn people that there's some of the stuff that, look, if you're worried about spoilers, maybe don't read the review, don't watch this review until after you've seen it. Not that I'm going to get deep into spoilers.
We can avoid spoiling, I think.
Right.
We managed to avoid spoiling Ex Machina. So.
Which this is a lot like. Ex Machina is a better AI movie than this.
Well, so that's a good point. Like, the AI in this, like, this is not an AI sci-fi movie. This is a comic book movie, right? Now, I don't mind that Joss Whedon is juggling 1,000 different things in this. You've got 6 characters returning, maybe 7, if depending on how you want to count, and they're all, you get interesting character moments between them. You get a couple of new characters, or 3 new characters that are all kind of in villain roles, or 4 new, right?
Sure.
There are references to at least 3 upcoming projects coming from the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
There are sidekicks from various movies.
Right, sidekicks and hints and all of that stuff. None of that actually bogged down the movie too badly for me, so much as I felt like the action was a little bit like shoehorned in there. The later action scenes, not so much, but the early ones are really shoehorned in, and I felt like they didn't do a good job of, like, oh, why are they fighting? Just because we needed a fight scene here.
Well, the first one looks super cartoony.
Yeah, the first one looks cartoony.
And jumpy.
The one in the ship doesn't look all that great. My biggest problem with this movie is that I didn't feel that Ultron, the character, as written and performed by James Spader, written by Joss Whedon, and performed by James Spader, I didn't feel like he was menacing enough. Like, yeah, okay, really? I get it's this big killer robot, but I don't want to hear like snarky one-liners from the killer robot. Like, I want to hear that killer robot say, "You all need to die."
But it's
and that's it.
I like James Spader knows how to purr evil, you know.
Yeah, but
and you're right. He's droll, and that's not maybe everybody's cup of tea for your world conquerors. But I dug it. I think he's actually one of the best things in the movie, you know. And if you want to read the Marvel movies as a sort of ongoing metaphor about the state of the world we're in, you know, if Captain America: The Winter Soldier was about the NSA, This is kind of the Osama bin Laden story when you think about it. It's like, we created you so that we wouldn't have to fight this war, and oh fuck, now you want to kill us all.
Yeah.
You know, so there's that.
That did not occur to me
There
while I was watching
there
it.
are ideas at play here, you know, but it does feel just overstuffed and just this. There's a few moments where the characters get to be Joss Whedon-y and banter a little, but so much of it just feels so overpacked and over agenda that it's hard to sort of loosen up and have as much fun with it as the first one. I'm not saying it's not fun. I have seen it twice. I did.
You've seen it twice?
I did, just to make sure on the second viewing that I pretty much still feel the same way about it. There are moments that are lovely and that are fun, but there aren't enough of them, and there's just too much of it where it just feels like even Joss Whedon is like, okay, gotta make the donuts.
Well,
Right,
he
but
said
there's-
this is going to kill him. He said that making this latest Avengers movie was going to kill him, and he's leaving forever.
Right, and as you go through the checklist of things that I think are obligated to be in this movie, which is huge, like this huge list of all this stuff that's going on in this film, it's kind of amazing the movie even ends up watchable. So I have to kind of give everybody involved some credit that this is, at the end of the day, I thought a relatively entertaining movie, but the problem is we've been spoiled, right? Like Guardians of the Galaxy, great movie that's fun and lighter and brisk,
Yes.
and doesn't feel too heavy, and neither did Winter Soldier, and neither did the first Avengers movie. And with all of the cast involved and Joss Whedon at the helm, you kind of want something a little bit better than you get. And look, like, okay, fine, it's a layup, fine, right? But it's not like, oh, holy shit, that's an amazing shot from center court. Like
Right. It's not. This is not a catastrophe, and it's not.
Right.
You will probably enjoy yourself, but I think that when you think about, do I want to see it again, or did I like this as much as like the movies you mentioned, or Iron Man 3, or even Dark World? It's going to be the kind of movie that I think people are most likely going to revisit the next time there's a 34-hour marathon of these movies, and less as I want to see Age of Ultron again.
But interesting that when you think about what sequels can do, when you look at Empire Strikes Back, when you look at The Godfather Part 2, like those arguably improved upon the source material.
Those are the exceptions,
right,
too.
This does not, and even the addition of other characters, aside from James Spader as the voice of Ultron, aside from the what Paul Bettany gets to do here as Jarvis, I don't think you necessarily even need Aaron Taylor Johnson or Elizabeth Olsen. I know that they play pivotal roles in pushing forward the plot, but they're total afterthoughts. The romantic connection that occurs, and this is not a spoiler because the trailers refer to it.
And we warn people. Look,
Okay.
like, if you don't want to be spoiled at all, don't be watching the
Okay,
review.
so I love that you have really serious actors in these roles, people who can bring great presence and power and yet sensitivity. And so you have Mark Ruffalo and you have Scarlett Johansson, and their characters are in this, I don't even know what to call it, will they or won't they kind of relationship.
Kind of.
And it just feels like it comes out of absolutely nowhere. And I wonder if it's just like, do they feel the need to give her a love interest? It feels wedged in, it feels forced, it feels unbelievable even from actors of that caliber.
It's fun to watch them flirt, but you're right. In the larger sense, it doesn't make a lot of dramatic or narrative sense. I was surprised, especially going back on the second viewing, how much I responded to Jeremy Renner.
Right, that's interesting.
So often treated as an afterthought in these movies, but he has some nice moments with his personal
Carly.
life, and then also he has like this speech that he gives to the Scarlet Witch in the third act. It's like, oh,
That's a good scene.
Right.
This
And-
is kind of, I'm getting that tingle of these are what I like in these movies.
And it's a lot different than the way that we've typically seen Hawkeye as a character written in the comic books, especially lately. Like that's a much different direction for that character, but it all works. I didn't mind the relationship stuff so much. I thought that was okay. I just felt that the biggest problem for me is the way Ultron was written. Like, I don't want to see this robot bent on annihilation, like, having these moments of self-doubt and these snarky, like, droll asides. Like, who cares?
No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
No, but
If he had a
but he's
cat
not
in his
even
lap, and he were petting,
But that's the
that'd
thing.
be
Like, he's
okay.
not even like that. Like, he's questioning, like, oh, why am I doing this? And he's engaging in a way that I don't think is right for that particular. Like, I want to see someone like Darth Vader in that type of villain.
He's not that intimidating, no.
right? That works for a villain like Loki. That's fine. But I think it's they're trying to go with the same kind of similar persona almost in this one, and I don't think that works. The other thing I want to point out that kind of bothered me, felt like the product placement in this was a little obnoxious.
It's brought to you by Audi.
And Gillette.
And Beats by Dre. But they have to sell it all.
I know,
right?
and it's fine, but it's just like, there's a couple moments like when they're driving in the little convertible. It's like, oh, come on. Really? Like, at least have the Hulk pick one up and throw it at somebody.
Let me ask you really fast. Who was Idris Elba in this? I see he's in the credits, but I did not even recognize him at all.
From the Thor movies. He's
the one
Oh, but his eyes are all blue.
Right.
And then also like Julie Delpy, I didn't realize who it was until
that was awesome.
Until after
Julie
she was gone.
Delpy's in an Avengers
I'm like,
movie.
ooh, Julie Delpy. But then she's
Julie
gone.
Delpy in this?
She's the teacher
dance
in the
instructor.
flashbacks.
Oh, holy shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, well, we'll see more of her.
Shit.
I hope
and
so.
Andy Serkis. Holy shit, Andy Serkis.
Yes, Andy Serkis is a lot of fun.
Lots of
So
good-
for me, ultimately, the first Avengers movie felt like Joss Whedon really got comic books in a way that a lot of other filmmakers did. This time, it just felt like he was sort of going through the motions.
So what's your
Kinda been
number?
there,
But I still enjoyed myself. I still give it a 7.5.
Do you really?
Didn't I? Yes.
No,
Okay.
6.5. That's me. I give it a
you got a
6.5.
number.
You're giving it a 7.5?
No, I give it a 6.5.
Okay.
I'm giving it a
I'm
6.5.
so confused. I'm giving it a 5.7. Whatever our numbers are.
It's still a 6.6.
We're at 6.6 and
Right,
it's
and it's
76%.
76% on the
millimeters.
tomato meter.
What we say does not matter at all. Bye.